All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I just set this up. Actually, I'm trying to decide. Actually, the lighting's not bad as is. Maybe I won't use my ring light today. It's not bad lighting. Oh, more drama and trauma and everything else. Every day of my life is drama. Dealing with garbage people, ironically, since the topic of the election. But the garbage people gave me the wrong line on what they pick up and how much they pick up and how big. So I put it out there. Oh, we don't pick that up. That's too big. Like, only had like 5 conversations with your staff about it. But anyway, I'm very annoyed. All right, I'm getting my microphone set up so I can get rolling on TikTok here. 1 second. Well, maybe I put a light on. I don't know. It probably may be able to use the light. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I just got the room started, so sorry. Everyone joining us late, or not joining us late, joining us now. Let me pull up the light. Can I? Yeah, I can. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, it has a little extra light. I like it. I'm a perfectionist on these things. All right, let me get TikTok rolling now. No, we've got I'm moving out of the house Saturday. We're moving out of the house, and the idiot garbage people were like, "Yeah, just throw the china cabinet in front of the house and put 2 stickers on it." I'm like, "Thank you." 5 different people. Now they don't pick it up. That's big. It's a fucking china cabinet. Yeah, but if it's over 5 feet, we don't pick it up, and if it's over X number of pounds, we don't pick it up. Like, you tell me this the 6th phone call I've had with you. I mean, I just total fucking. I thought DC. I mean, DC's very incompetent, but still, Jesus Christ. Anyway, let me get TikTok roll. I'm just very pissed off because I kid you not, as always, when the show's ready to start, this was 5 minutes before the show started, and I was like, ah. Hang on. All right. Let me get my live goal done, and then we will get rolling. But my God, like, could we just make life harder here? You know? And it's always before the show, too. So, like, I try to get in the groove with you guys, and then these people just piss me off right before the show starts. I'm like, all right, I'm looking here. Hang on. Something fun today. Oh, boy. I do like my little meerkat. The eyes are fun, too. I think actually the pinching face. No, the rock star. Hello, that's an easy one. The rock star is the obvious one. All right, let me get TikTok rolling here. All right, go live. All right. Oh my God, drama. Jeez, mirror your video. There we go. Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm gonna move my camera even more in the middle, so I'm actually looking at you guys on YouTube. There we go. That's pretty good. All right. Oh my God. Anyway, welcome everybody. How are you doing today? Of course, did I print off my notes? No. Kind of hard for me to do my show when I haven't even printed off my notes, you think? Oh, God. Let me do that right now. Hold on. Wait. Corner file. Print. All right. Black and white. 2-sided. All right. Yeah, it might help me to have my notes if we're going to start the show. So, oh my God, it drives me crazy, Noah. No, I mean, like, we're emptying the house, and the idiot garbage people gave me like multiple stories. No, they gave me the same story every time. Oh, china cabinet, we take those. China cabinet, no problem. China cabinet. They told me they'd take an oversized couch, no problem. Now I find out you got to cut everything in half. I'm like, and your other staff isn't aware of this? Anyway, thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Richard. Man, oh, hey, Jamie. Just very, very annoying. So, yes, in a second, I'm going to go over and which interview, Doug? Oh, you didn't already see Jamie's interview, did you? Thank you, Diana. Thank you, User336. Oh, okay. Let me go check out my printout. 1 moment. Have I voted? Of course I voted. I mean, not of course, but I did yesterday, and I sent it in absentee. Yeah. I mean, I live in Washington, D.C. I live in D.C., so it's such a Democratic town. Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you, Jorge. That, it's kind of like your vote doesn't count because it's a Democratic town, but still, I voted. I did. But yeah, sent it in sent it in absentee 2 days ago. It just has to be postmarked before the election, so it's fine. It got postmarked 2 days ago, so I'm good. Goodwill. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, nobody wants China cabinets. The charities I talked to, nobody wanted the China cabinet. Thank you, Bjorn. So we're literally having to like, it's already in front of the house. Somebody thought it would be cute to kick in the glass yesterday, so it's not even usable anymore. Thank you, Mark Starr. DC had some proposition on, what was it? Or whatever you call it. On, I can't remember now. It was something that actually looked intriguing. Cannot remember. Of course I voted for Harris. Please. You think I voted for the Nazi? Please. Harvey says, over in the UK, my university pub is doing an all-night lock-in to watch the election. Oh, that's right, because for you guys, you're 6 hours ahead or five hours ahead or whatever. Yeah. Oh, fun. Yeah, I've heard about the people complaining about the Goodwill thing, Joshua. That's interesting. Yeah, other people were telling me about that too. They like they pay low wages to people with disabilities and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Anyway, oh my God, yeah. So I just had some drama before the show, as always. It's like, and I'm tired. Nobody wants me to have a good show where I can just relax and have fun with you guys, Man. Yep, Virginia purging voters, that's taken place. The Republicans are, of course, which we'll talk about it, but thank you, Jeremy. The Republicans are doing their usual, oh my God, you're being mean to us. Mind you, they're the fascist party. Okay, they're the party that called all Democrats the enemy within, like Hitler language, literally Nazi Germany language about all Democrats. Trump talked about using the U.S. military to go after Democrats. Trump wanted to shoot protesters with the U.S. military, and Biden's so mean to Trump supporters because he said some of them are garbage. Some of them are garbage. They're supporting fascists. I mean, I hate that Democrats do this. Donald Trump has spent every day of the election talking just horrible crap about American citizens. Horrible crap, Oh, great. And now someone's actually interested in the China cabinet that these jerks broke last night. My mom has this wonderful China cabinet. None of the charities wanted it. So we put it in front of the house. And of course, some freaking hoodlums thought it would be cute to drive by and kick the glass in. So now this wonderful China cabinet from the 1960s is now broken. Some girls were walking by and liked it, but of course it's broken because some asshole thought it would be funny to kick in the glass. So anyway, I'm not in a good mood today, guys. Sorry. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Trump said Nancy Pelosi was the enemy within our country too. I mean, the Trump supporters, every day, they call Democrats baby killers. They call us un-American, right? They say we're traitors. They say Trump wanted them shot, right? Trump literally made fun of Nancy Pelosi's husband when the 81-year-old man or 82-year-old man was beaten with a blunt instrument in the head by some guy that invaded their home. And Trump thought it was funny and joked about it. But when Democrats say some Trump supporters are garbage and some Trump supporters are garbage, suddenly, and Republicans are so good at this. Oh my God, he called some of us garbage. What will we do? Oh, with a hammer. Thank you, Daniel. It was with a hammer that they attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband. Donald Trump joked about it. But because Biden said some Trump supporters are garbage. And by the way, this is Hillary Clinton back in 2016. Hillary said some Trump supporters are deplorables, and Trump supporters are deplorable. We know this. I mean, this is not rocket science, right? I mean, some of them I think are still good people, but boy, it's a small group, right? A lot of them are garbage. They're un-American. They don't believe in our democracy. They literally picked up arms to overthrow our government. That's garbage. And by the way, that should be, thank you, Jens, that should be the Democrats' response. When they say, Joe Biden called them garbage. He should say, well, what word would you use for people who pick up weapons and attack the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to violently overthrow our government? They're actually terrorists. You're right. The word wasn't garbage. The word was terrorists. And you may go, well, but he didn't. And you go, no. Are you suggesting that people who take up arms to overthrow our government are not garbage? But Democrats should do what Republicans do. Dig in and just throw it on them. But of course, I mean, it makes me sick and Democrats will always go, oh my God. And the media loves it because the media is just, looking for fascism at this point. It's amazing to me. Anyway, oh my God. All right, let's get rolling here. So welcome, guys. We're going to talk about, I'd be totally arrested in Russia for my shirt. Oh yeah. The rainbow thing. Absolutely, Harvey. Yep. Yep. So yeah, we're going to talk about the election first. Then we're going to talk about Ukraine. 6 days to the U.S. election. Please do keep the gifts coming, guys. I always have to pitch you, but I do this for a living and I do it full time. Your gifts quite literally help me pay the bills on TikTok and YouTube, like Jens just did actually with a very generous gift. But please do subscribe. That's even better. You can become a subscriber, which gives you certain rights to it depends actually where you subscribe, but basically it gives you access to a Saturday show I do. This Saturday, I'm not doing the special show because I'm flying back to DC finally after 2.5 months, but I moved it to Sunday, I think. I did move it to Sunday. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm going to try to do Saturday show on Sunday. So because we have the election coming up, I don't want to miss it. You know what I mean? So we'll do that on Sunday. But yes, if you can help out, I appreciate it. I'm going to start doing the morning show again. I'm going to try at least, election day and Monday. Yeah. Because being here, I just can't. I mean, literally when I'm in Chicago, it happened again today. I spent 6 or 7 hours today dealing with my mom's estate every day. And I'm not convinced it's going to be much better in DC, but it might be because we should have the house empty shortly. So what do I do in DC? I do this in DC, but normally I do it in DC and not in Chicago. I've been a long time Democratic, but political operative. I've written about politics. I've done a lot of TV. I've done blogs. I've done podcasts, done a lot of consulting for progressive causes. And several years ago decided, I should get involved in TikTok, YouTube as well. Started doing a broadcast on TikTok, actually about COVID of all things. So 2000 or so, to basically give people the right information about what's going on, because people weren't getting the right information, obviously, from Republicans. And once the war in Ukraine happened, I decided to start covering Ukraine as well, because I care about it. I have always had a very strong concerns, shall we say, about the Russians. I'm trying to put it in language that the TikTok monitors won't freak out about. But I grew up during the years of the Soviet Union. I know who the Russians are, and have been very concerned about them. So I was very concerned. Again, nice TikTok language, when they invaded Ukraine for the second time. So started covering that, started doing the live show. And our live show 2.5 years ago was only covering Ukraine. But then with the election coming in the last, months, I've been covering both. I was doing the internet since 1995, Jeff. Yeah. Yep. I started doing back in basically 1993 or so. 1993 or 1994. I remember talking to a friend of mine who worked for Senator Kennedy. He was one of Senator Kennedy's top guys, just brilliant guy. And I said, okay, you understand grassroots movements. This internet thing, and this is 1993 or so, I said, this internet thing is fascinating me. Like, we have it in our office. We can write to other offices instantaneously. You got to think when for a lot of you who are younger, the first time we used email, oh my God. I mean, it was the first time I used a fax machine was fascinating, right? Even that, instantaneously sending a document by phone, but to use the internet to email people in another room or another building. And I talked to a friend of mine and I said, we can use this for politics. I know we can use this for politics. How do we do? I said, politics. I know the internet. I know, how do we do this? And started working at Children's Defense Fund in late 1994, early 1995. Told them the same thing. I want to do this internet thing with our political work. Thank you, Tarad. And they said, sure. So long story, but I started developing an online advocacy network. And back in 1995, it just wasn't done. I mean, you didn't, very few, I think I want to say maybe the anti-tobacco people might have been the very first people using sort of the internet for advocacy, but people really weren't. And yeah, so the rest is history, but it was absolutely amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And Russia is one of my areas of expertise. Yes. I mean, I have studied a lot. Thank you, Larissa and Tarad and Jay. I have a law degree from Georgetown, but I also went and applied to the joint degree program at Georgetown, where in 4 years you get a law degree and a master's of science and foreign service. At Georgetown, the MSFS degree is basically a 2-year program in international public policy, I would call it. So you're studying international affairs, you're studying government, but you're also studying how to actually use it, how to work as a government official, foreign policy official, et cetera. So you have to learn the history, but you also have to, you can go by. Yeah, that's right. Evan knows. He knows the rules. Just don't shut the door all the way so Sasha can come in and out, her usual BS. Sorry, my brother-in-law, my nephew. So I've got a very strong background in international relations, strong background in the law, and then I've worked in politics for 30 or 40 years now. I've also worked as a journalist. I've written for The Economist, among others. So I have like a lot of background, speak 5 languages. Anyway, I don't mean to give you my whole resume, but I've got a lot of different backgrounds, but foreign policy is one of them. Good Russia background. I wouldn't call myself a Russia expert, but I've studied a lot about Russia. And lived during the years of the Soviet Union. I visited the Soviet Union in 1984, which was fascinating, horrifying, but fascinating. And then went to Russia in 1993 as well. Thank you, Pam. So I guess I know more than a lot of, I wouldn't call myself a Russia expert because the Russia experts, like my friend Marion, are a whole category. I would say I'm somebody who knows a lot more about Russia than most people, probably, but the experts know more. Anyway, thank you, Martin. And if somebody can give Jacob a gift subscription on TikTok, that would be very generous of you. He is asking. All right, let's get rolling here. So the latest polls. So Washington Post, Vice President Harris holds a narrow advantage in the battleground states of Michigan and Wisconsin, and she's tied with Trump in Pennsylvania. So the battleground states, I do love that gift. Thank you. Who is that? Lori, thank you. Thank you, Nisha. And Martin as well. The battleground states are the key states that both parties kind of need to win, Trump and Kamala Harris. Thank you, Cato. I always sort of try to explain to people not to belabor the point, but I think anybody who's new to this may not understand how our elections work. Jacob, somebody got you a subscription. Very nice. I don't know who did it, but whoever did that for Jacob, thank you. The way American elections work is Elizabeth did. Thank you, Elizabeth. The way American elections work is this way. The winner is not the person who gets the most votes. It's crazy. I mean, although I will say this, your parliamentary system is kind of crazy to us too. It took me the longest time to understand this whole thing with prime minister. And I was like, what? But he's also a member of parliament. Like, what the hell is this? So for us, your system's kind of confusing too. But even for us, our system is confusing. Okay. So every state is allotted a certain number of points based on its population. Washington, D.C., not a state, but we do get to vote, has 3 points. California, the biggest state in terms of population, has 54 points. Well, we vote nationally on election day, and you're running as Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, and you're trying to win each state. Most of the states are winner take all. Most of the states are, if you get 50.1% of the vote, you get all the points for that state. So if you get 50.1% of the votes in California, you get all 54 votes in California. 50.1% of the votes in Washington, D.C., you get all 3 points. Same with Alaska, right? Most states. You have to get 270 points to become president. So it becomes a game of getting all the right states to reach that number, right? So it's not a matter of we just need the most votes. Hillary Clinton had the most votes by 3 million votes. She lost to Donald Trump. Al Gore had the most votes by 500,000 votes over George Bush. He lost because he didn't have the right states. So in American politics, thank you, Nathan, for the presidential race, you will hear people talking about the battleground states, the swing states. These are the states that tend to be somewhat in the middle, meaning they can go back and forth. They could go Democrat, they could go Republican. And they're also super important states when you're trying to do the vote count. When you're trying to reach that 270, these states are key. So anyway, just to remind you, when you hear battleground states and you hear Americans, pundits, political people, news people talking about the race in specific states, that's why. Because the candidates are trying to win the points allotted to those states. They're not just trying to win the points overall. I should say the number of votes overall. There you go. So here we go. Kamala Harris holds a narrow advantage in Michigan and Wisconsin. She's tied with Trump in Pennsylvania, according to a new CNN poll. The Quinnipiac poll, which is another respected poll, says Trump received the support of 47% of likely voters in Pennsylvania. Harris receives 46%. Pennsylvania is also probably the key state, really, not even a key state. The key state. 46 to 47 is a tie. I should say that too. Kamala Harris is ahead in some of those states, the key states. Trump is ahead in some of them. Pretty much all of them. There might be one that there's a big enough difference, but pretty much all of them, if the vote is within 3 percentage points, it's a tie. because statistically, the margin of error of these polls can't be 100% right. They do the poll, and it's kind of surprising, actually, that the margin of error can be so high. But the margin of error can often be 2 or 3 percentage points, meaning if it's 41 Trump, 43 Harris, that's a tie statistically because it's within the error guidelines of the polls. So they're pretty much tied in everything. I will say once again, from reading stuff today, the polls are getting tighter, which is scary because Kamala Harris was more ahead before and now she's less ahead. I don't know how you look at Trump these last couple of weeks and say, I didn't like him before, but now I'm starting to like the guy. Who knows? Esty is saying, watch out for women, especially young ones in Pennsylvania. That's going to be an interesting question. I've said this to you guys before, and it's a very interesting, thank you, KT. It's a very interesting issue. There's 2 big problems with the polls, at least. First problem, Donald Trump tends to do better on election day than he does in the polls. So the polls will show Trump doing worse than he actually is. The second problem helps Democrats. Democrats have done incredibly well in the last 2 years because of abortion. Donald Trump basically is responsible for taking away the constitutional right that women in America had to a right to privacy, it was called, but it included the right to decide whether they wanted an abortion, etc., contraception, all sorts of things. Trump took it away. He took it away via the Supreme Court. And the funny part is, I see a Trumper already lying about this. Trump claimed credit for it. I'll be talking. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Okay. Trump claimed credit for it. He actually repeatedly claimed credit for it, which is fascinating. For basically taking the right to an abortion away from women across America. Well, in the last 2 years, voters have held him wildly responsible for this. I mean, wildly responsible. So he has, Republicans have done terrible. 22 elections or so in the last 2 years since the Supreme Court struck down the woman's right to an abortion, or the constitutional right for women to have an abortion. And Republicans have done terrible in the election since then. But what's interesting, the reason I'm bringing this up is, on one hand, you have Trump, who tends to do better in the poll, tends to do better on election day than the polls might suggest. But you also have Democrats who, for the last 2 years, because Trump killed the right to an abortion and basically for women across America, you have Democrats doing much better on election day than the polls said they would do. That's what's interesting. So you've got 2 different reasons why maybe Trump is doing better than the polls say, and maybe Kamala Harris is doing better than the polls say. Basically, we don't know, right? I mean, thank you, Squish. What I would say is be scared, be worried, but don't be despondent, right? We are not at the point where, oh my God, Kamala Harris is going to lose. We're at the point where, oh my God, Kamala Harris could lose. Yeah, Trump could win and Trump could lose. I still think it's a tie. And it's a tie where, like I said, if more of Trump supporters turn out, he wins. More of Kamala Harris's, she wins. It's a tie right now. I don't like it because it should not be this close when the candidate you're running against is somebody as evil and un-American and hateful and violent as Donald Trump. He tried to violently overthrow the government. He lied about the election. He called our troops suckers. He hates our troops. He called them suckers and losers. He loves America's enemies like Russia. He gave away our state secrets. He stole classified information. He sexually assaulted dozens of women and was found liable in court for one of them. He was convicted of 34 felonies, on and on and on. There is no reason why somebody as disgusting as Donald Trump should be getting 1% in the polls, but he is. So that worries me, right? It should worry you. Let me see here. Russian hacker group Midnight Blizzard has been sending out highly targeted phishing emails to U.S. individuals working in government, academia, defense, and non-governmental organizations, Microsoft warned. Trump, this is really wild. Trump has a radical plan. We've heard about Project 2025, his crazy plan, but he's also got a plan to use Elon Musk and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to basically destroy the government. Let's start with Elon Musk. Trump is going to use Elon Musk to be in charge of some kind of government responsibility project or whatever, and he's going to figure out how to cut like 30% of the federal budget. 30%, guys. 30% of the budget he's going to kill. Now, people who aren't familiar with how governments work think, yeah, that's okay. The problem is you can't cut 30%. Most government programs are not like bad programs, or otherwise they would be gotten rid of. You've got to cut Social Security. You've got to cut, which is retirement for seniors. Every senior in America gets Social Security. You've got to cut Medicare. Again, health benefits for every senior in America. You've got to cut Medicaid, health benefits for poor people. You're going to have to cut education, money that goes to schools across the country, health spending, on and on and on. Elon Musk, even, and the worst part is, Elon Musk even said, because he's going to propose, he's going to be the czar to cut budget. He's going to tell Trump how to cut 1/3 of the federal spending. Let me tell you what's going to happen next. We're going to go into a recession, and if we're lucky, it won't be a depression. When, and this is an economics thing, you can talk to any of the economists. I mean, I studied economics too. When you cut 1/3 of the federal budget, you depress the economy. You literally take money out of the economy. It will be disastrous. But the best part is, don't listen to me. Elon Musk has admitted this. Elon Musk said, yes, it's going to be very painful for people when I implement my budget cuts, but in the long run, it'll be really good. Elon Musk is admitting, basically, that under Donald Trump, he's going to send us into a recession, people. I mean, and this is at the same time, by the way, thank you, Marsha. This is at the same time that Donald Trump is going to raise inflation. Donald Trump, and by the way, again, Google the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is as conservative as you get. And it's like the Financial Times in London. Even the Wall Street Journal says Donald Trump's proposal to raise tariffs massively on foreign imports is going to send inflation through the roof, through the freaking roof. The price of goods could go up 20% or 50% across America. And again, all the economists say this. The Wall Street Journal says this, but Trump gets away with it because Trump gets away with everything. So that's what Elon's doing. So Elon is going to basically send us into a recession, probably having to cut Social Security and Medicare. Trump is going to massively raise inflation because he's going to put massive tariffs on all the imports. And most of the goods you buy in stores are imports. So if the price goes up 50%, you're going to have to pay 50% more, just so you know. Third thing, you thought inflation was bad a couple of years ago. Oh, just wait. Third thing, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This was my favorite. This was from CNN. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be given free rein to go wild, quote unquote, go wild on the healthcare system. They're going to let Robert F. Kennedy Jr. redesign the entire American healthcare system. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is crazy. He's a conspiracy theorist. This is my problem with Kennedy Jr. He was an environmentalist. He was a good environmentalist. Now he's Trump's biggest supporter. The problem is Donald Trump is literally gutting every environmental program. So why would an environmentalist, right, support Donald Trump? It doesn't make sense. Well, as Wading just said, the worm in his brain. Kennedy admitted 12 years ago, he literally got some parasitic worm in his brain that ate part of his brain. Crazy stuff, but possibly that's what's going on with him. Thank you, Marcia, Squish, and Fry Lemon for following me. Thank you, Marcia, again. The bigger problem with Kennedy is he's an anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist. He doesn't have concerns about vaccines. Kennedy, and you can Google this. I did a whole show on this once, actually, because people were some of the trolls were going, it's not true. So I went and I pulled the article and I read the transcript of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s interview with CNN from a year ago. He does the interview and he says, there isn't a single vaccine ever proven effective. Yeah, sure. He then says, there isn't a single vaccine ever proven safe. Guys, he sets up, thank you, Daniel, an organization a few years back, thank you, Hakan, to, help children's health. It's actually an anti-vaccine organization. It's an organization to stop children from getting vaccinated, which is, brilliant. Thank you, Hakan. The organization, Robert F. Kennedy's organization, comes out earlier this year and says the polio vaccine doesn't work. That basically people shouldn't get the polio vaccine. It doesn't work because polio isn't real. Polio, so the vaccine that since the 1950s has saved literally millions of children from losing the use of their limbs. because children would literally become crippled. They would lose their legs. They would, even worse, they would get stuck in iron lungs, where literally this metal compartment to help you breathe, right? Nordic and Tarno. Thank you, Tarmo, for the gift. Nordic, I'll get to that in a second. Robert F. Kennedy's organization claims the polio vaccine doesn't work. I mean, like, again, polio, guys, like no one disagrees that the polio vaccine works. Of course it works. It's been working for like 70 years now. He says polio vaccine doesn't work. He says polio isn't even caused by the polio virus. It's caused by toxins in your blood. Guys, he's crazy. I mean, there's something wrong with this guy. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's a nut job. And Trump is going to put him in charge of our healthcare system. This is what is so dangerous about picking somebody as stupid, as dumb as Donald Trump. Not to mention evil, un-American, and everything else. But Donald Trump is so stupid. He so doesn't care about you or any of us that he's going to put Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's an anti-science nut job, conspiracy theorist, in charge of healthcare for America. I mean, and then Elon Musk is going to send us into a recession and cut Medicare and Social Security. It's like, you know what? I mean, all I can say to some degree, I mean, again, there's a part of me that says if it happens, I'm going to sit here, my little retirement, and I'm just going to go, you know what? I'm moving to a Greek island and you guys can just have fun. You know, you wanted him to cut your health care. You wanted him to cut your Social Security. You wanted him to send the economy into a depression. And you wanted RFK Jr. to basically help get you killed. Go for it. Nordic Warrior, when Trump loses, couldn't the Republicans just do their plan with the budget fight in January? They can try. The thing is, it's complicated because the budget has to get passed by, well, it's budget is also, it's appropriations bills. I'm not even going to get into the details, but basically the budget has to be passed, thank you, Jetta, by the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, the two bodies of Congress, right? The two houses of Congress. Thank you, Jen. If one of those is Democrat and one's Republican, they've got to negotiate, or they can't pull it off, right? So that's the first thing. Republicans could try, but if Democrats control the House and the Republicans control the Senate, right? Now, you could have Republicans controlling the House and Senate. So maybe they get together and they decide to do all sorts of horrible things like Trump wants to do. That legislation still has to go to the president, and the president has to sign it. The president could just veto the legislation and say no. Now, to overturn the veto, it goes back to Congress, and they need way more votes. I'm already forgetting. Help me out, guys. 2/3, I think. I always get confused with the veto versus passing a treaty, like 3/5 versus 2/3. 2/3, thank you, WC. It's like the two of those always get me confused. You would need, so instead of needing 51 votes in the Senate, for example, to pass legislation, you would need 66 or 67 votes in the Senate to override a veto. So it gets much harder in that case. Thank you, Anton, for the hat and mustache. So yes, Republicans will still try, but you know, I would love to go to Ukraine sometimes, Cody. It just hasn't kind of worked out yet, but I would be very interested in going. A little afraid, I will admit. You know, the war thing is a little scary, but you know, anyway. What else? Oh, I'm sorry. We got a lot of news. I'm saying what else? I've got 4 pages of news here. Yeah. So we talked about Trump sinking the economy with Kennedy and Musk. Trump is lying again about voter fraud. Thank you, Anton Leonov, for the gold medal. Appreciate that. Trump is claiming that there's voter fraud across Pennsylvania. Oh my God, they're stealing the election. And the Secretary of State, who's in charge of it, came forward and said, no, like he's lying. And this is my problem again. Why do you want to vote for somebody who just lies to you about everything? I mean, yeah, he hates people. I guess that makes you feel good. Like if you're kind of lean fascist, that, oh, he hates lots of people. I like that. I guess, but he lies to you about everything. Doesn't at some point, and this is where, again, I don't understand Republicans. You'd think at some point being lied to this much. And I mean, how do you not know he's lying? I mean, come on. You don't have to be a genius to look. I mean, not to mention, you have to be a genius to look at Donald Trump and think this guy's disgusting, right? I mean, I could see a certain segment of Republicans looking at Donald Trump and going, cool. He like sexually assaults women. Cool, right? I could see like maybe a segment of Republican voters, but overall Republican voters, you'd think would look at him and go, Donald Trump is trash. He's trash. Why would you want to vote for this guy? But they do, and they're proud of it. I really don't understand it. The Philadelphia District Attorney's case against Elon Musk's $1 million giveaway to voters is heading to court on Thursday. Nicky Jam, a Puerto Rican and Dominican reggaeton, I didn't even know reggaeton was a thing, reggaeton singer, rescinded his endorsement of Donald Trump in the latest blowback over a comedian's insult at a Trump rally on Sunday that Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage. Just to remind folks, Trump decided to hold a big rally in Madison Square Garden on Sunday. It's where the Nazis held a big rally in 1939 as well. A lot of people were making comparisons since Trump is a fascist and has been called so by our top military officials, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, his former Secretary of Defense, his former White House Chief of Staff, all generals or generals and not all generals, 2 generals and 1 senior military official all say he's a fascist. Trump then hires a comedian to open his event at Madison Square Garden in New York, and the comedian decides he's going to start telling jokes that are sexist, racist, and sexist, racist, basically. Yeah. So he starts with Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an American island. It's a territory. They're not a state, but they're sort of I would say southeast of Florida, maybe, right off of Florida, right off of sort of east of Cuba, and they're Americans, right? Nice. I've been to Puerto Rico. Nice people. Well, and a lot of them live in New York and a lot of the important states, by the way, too, that are a lot of the voting states. Well, the comedian gets up there and says, "Wow, did you hear about this big pile of floating garbage in the Atlantic?" And you think he's talking about that pile of garbage in the Pacific. There's this huge pile of garbage in the Pacific Ocean. Basically, all people's litter. The ocean currents have collected it into this like miles long pile of garbage. It's the most disgusting thing. And he goes, and you think this is what he's talking about. So he goes, "Oh, did you hear about the disgusting pile of garbage in the Atlantic Ocean? It's called Puerto Rico," he says. And Puerto Rico, I mean, everybody was sort of shocked. Like, Puerto Ricans are garbage? Why are Puerto Ricans garbage? Right? I mean, it's like because they're Latino. Like, is this a slur against Latinos? Because we know Republicans like to do that. Trump called a Mexican American U.S. soldier who was murdered a effing Mexican. I mean, like, he was dismissing her as she's just an effing Mexican. She was an American citizen who was murdered and a member of the U.S. military, but she was Mexican American. So, then he goes on. And again, I've said the other day about this. If you're not American or Canadian, you may not appreciate just how bad this joke is, how racist it is. But we have Halloween coming tomorrow. Halloween, I think everybody knows what Halloween is. In America, at least, we carve pumpkins. It's this big round orange gourd, and we carve them with scary faces and stuff. The comedian goes, "Oh yeah, it's Halloween next week. Or this week, I'm getting together with some of my black friends, and we're going to carve watermelons." Associating black people with watermelons is one of the oldest, most racist stereotypes in American culture. Again, it's hard to explain it to you if you're not. The Canadians told me they're familiar with it. If you're not American, it's like any country. If you're not familiar with the country, you may not appreciate the words that are racist and things like that. Associating black people with watermelons is as racist as it's horrifically racist. I mean, you wouldn't do it. Like, no comedian would do that on stage. They did it at Trump's rally. We then find out, and Trump, of course, refuses to repudiate, that the campaign said, well, we don't agree with him. Trump refused to repudiate the guy. Trump simply said it was a love fest. It was a love fest. Well, then we find out that, and the Trump people apparently released this to try to make it sound like they were actually the good guys. The comedian wanted to call Kamala Harris the C word. There's no way TikTok would let me say this word. I'm not going to say it. It's C something NT. And the Trump campaign said, no, you can't do that. A couple things going on here. One, that means the Trump campaign approved him calling Puerto Ricans garbage. He approved the Trump campaign approved him joking about black people and watermelons because they struck out the joke calling Kamala Harris the C word. Let me again explain this to you. Canada, you may be the same as us. I don't know. I'd be curious, any Canadians out there. The Brits, most Anglophone companies, English-speaking countries, do not have the same vulgarity about this word that we do in America. Australian friends of mine use it all the time, and I'm always like, shocked. Brits, I have heard use the word. Again, Canadians, I don't know. What about you guys? Do you guys use the word, the C word? In America, it is not used. I mean, it is not used. In Canada, it's common, or where are you, Triff? It is not used. It is probably the most vulgar word we have. I do. I think it's possibly more vulgar than the N-word, even, possibly. I mean, it's that vulgar of a word in English, and the N-word is horrific. For this guy to have been planning to call Kamala Harris that word is just, again, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But it's not. But again, no. What about Canada? What about Canada? Like I said, the Brits, I know, but the Brits use it. The Brits use it. The Australians use it all the time. The Brits use it more. Is not used in Canada for most. Okay, because for us, it's I'm not going to even tell you. People can tell you in the comments more or less what the word is. But it's pretty horrific. Just make sure to bring it back. Evan, just make sure to put it back so we know where it is. Yeah, thanks. In Britain, it's a pretty common insult. Oh, I know that. Like I said, as an American, we always go to the UK or Australia and we're like, because you just don't say it here. I mean, rhymes with hunt. Maybe that's the best way of putting it. PC Noel just said. I mean, it's like I said, you have to be. It's also kind of fascinating in a way of the difference in cultures. Thank you, Ernie, because we're all Anglophone cultures. We all have the same word. In America, the word is possibly the most vile, and I'm not exaggerating here. I think it's the most vile word in the English language. I really think it is for Americans. Whereas for the Brits, they use it, and the Australians, my Australian friends use it all the time. It's fascinating, like I said, the cultural differences there. You know what I mean? In any case, so this was Trump's rally. This was Trump's rally on Sunday. Like, lovely that it was. What else? Actually, that's about it. I'm going to move over to you. Let's move over to Ukraine now. It's the worst here in the U.S. Absolutely. Yeah. It wasn't a bad word during the medieval era. Okay. What do you mean, like the 1400s or something? 1500s? Maybe. I mean, I believe you, Wild Hunt, but that's funny. Paula, here it's considered. Now, Paula, in the UK, it's considered the worst insult you can give someone. But you guys still use the word, though, don't you? Because here, anybody who uses that word, I mean, like, my friends would not use that word. It is just, even amongst ourselves, I mean, like, it is not done. It's just not done in the US. People who do, I would say, I don't even know how to, I was thinking like how the French would say, very poorly brought up. You'd say in France, like, there's something wrong with you if you use that word, frankly, here, I think. Anyway. All right. Let's move on to Ukraine, guys. We went 45 minutes already on the election stuff. Woo, thank you, Marsha, for the gift. Keep it going. Today is day 977 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. A fire broke out today at a British nuclear submarine yard. No nuclear material was in danger, but I got to tell you, when you hear about fires breaking out at nuclear submarine bases, basically, you think the Russians. This is the kind of thing the Russians have been doing across Europe for 10 plus years now, if not longer. And they tend to get away with it, which is why they keep doing it. Is it an act of war? Yes, it's an act of war. But, the Russians being the Russians, they just keep doing it because we let them get away with doing it. Update on North Korean troops. This is via the Financial Times out of London. Senior Ukrainian intelligence officials told the Financial Times that about 3,000 North Korean troops have been secretly transported in civilian trucks from Russia's Far East to its western Kursk region. Kursk is the region right inside Russia that the Ukrainians invaded and still control part of the territory. One official said that only a few hundred of those 3,000 were special forces, the other being regular troops. They were housed on Monday in barracks about 50 kilometers, which is like 30 miles from the Ukrainian border, where they are awaiting further instructions. President Biden said today that Ukraine should strike back if North Korean troops cross into its territory. That's good. There was some concern as to whether, thank you for the bear there, KT. There was some concern as to whether the Biden administration would try to put limits on Ukraine and say, don't hit back against the North Koreans. That would be mean and dangerous. So they're not saying that, which is good. South Korea reportedly, I'm sorry, I got yawning at you again. South Korea reportedly is not considering direct artillery supplies to Ukraine. That's bad. We were hoping South Korea would step in and start offering direct military supplies to Ukraine. Now, I will say it's against the law in South Korea. Thank you, PC Noel. So to some degree, thank you, Grumpy, to some degree, that may not be news, right? South Korea can't give weapons to an active war zone. That would be Ukraine by law. So when South Korea says we're not going to be giving, artillery shells, let me find this again, are not going to be giving artillery shells. How do they put this? They will not consider direct supply of artillery shells to Ukraine. That kind of makes sense. They're not allowed to by law. That doesn't forbid them from indirect. Indirect means they sell them to a third country and the third country gives them to Ukraine or sells them to Ukraine, right? They could gift them to, like you said, Britain, Zerpachi just says. They could gift some to Great Britain and, oh my God, Great Britain decides to give them to Ukraine. So there are lots of ways that South Korea can get involved to help the Ukrainians now that the North Koreans are getting involved and helping the Russians. So it's just in the South Korean law, Cable. I'm not an expert on South Korean law, but I read that under South Korean law, they're not allowed to sell weapons to active war zones. And Ukraine is an active war zone. So I don't know South Korean culture, political culture well enough to know whether there's a peace element to the culture or something, but it's South Korean law. Yeah. It's just their law, Is it the Constitution? No, I didn't know that. Is it in their actual Constitution? That I did not know, Go Royals. That's interesting. Now, actually, when I think about it, this all could go back to post-World War II, right? After World War II, we're demilitarizing the Chinese. We're demilitarizing the Chinese, the Japanese. Who knows if this is all, I wouldn't be surprised if it's all tied to this post-World War II keeping peace in Asia kind of thing. You know what I mean? To sort of making the countries less belligerent, not giving weapons to, That kind of, and like Japan too. I'm guessing here, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it comes from. All right, little more here. Okay, not good news about Ukraine, but again, unlike the other guys, I tell you the truth about what's going on. The Telegraph reports that Ukraine's front line is crumbling against Russian advances, according to one of the Ukrainian generals. Colonel General Dmytro Marchenko says a dwindling supply of ammunition was one of the main reasons for Ukraine's weakening front line meaning kind of where they hit up against the Russians, and describes Zelensky's victory plan as misguided. Okay, this is interesting. This is a general directly taking on Zelensky. I didn't quite realize that when I had jotted this down. I would say take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because clearly he's somebody criticizing Zelensky. So he also has an incentive to say things are going very badly at the front. We either need to change Zelensky or change something. Now, it's also possible he's telling the truth. He may be criticizing Zelensky because maybe they are having a hard time at the front. I'm just sort of giving you the news. I think we're not sure, right? But be aware of sort of the background there. Reuters, Zelensky strongly suggested in a video released on Wednesday that Kyiv requested supplies of long-range U.S. Tomahawk cruise missiles. That request leaked publicly. The Ukrainians were not happy about it. I am going to guess that there's a 0% chance that Biden would give Tomahawk cruise missiles to the Ukrainians. Thank you, Jamie, because Biden is afraid of angering Putin. So it'd be lovely if they got them. In a million years, I will not believe that Biden would provide them. Big Z says, based on Institute for the Study of War maps, which is a very good think tank, it shows the Ukrainians are having a hard time at the front. Yeah, I mean, maybe the general's telling the truth and he's trying to kind of, slap Zelensky into doing more. It's possible. Absolutely possible. The Kremlin this is interesting. The Kremlin is denying that Ukraine and Russia are talking about halting energy strikes. This, I think, came from the Kyiv Independent. The denial comes a day after the Financial Times reported that Ukraine and Russia are resuming discussions about halting the strikes on each other's energy infrastructure. So who knows? Finally, Georgia. So the country of Georgia, near Russia, it was part of the Soviet Union, just had recent elections the other day. It is widely believed the Russians stole the elections. Georgia's leading party, the Georgia Dream Party, is, I don't know how you want to define it, but thank you, Bryce. They are increasingly becoming run by the Russians, basically. They're pulling Georgia away from Europe. And again, super Russian influence, trying to pass, or they have been passing Russian-style laws on dissent to basically kill democracy in that country. The European Commission suspended Georgia's accession to the European Union. They said they did it because of recent legislative amendments to the election process, frequent compromises on vote secrecy, so because of the issue with the election, procedural inconsistencies, intimidation, and pressure on voters that negatively impacted public trust in the process. So basically, Georgia's entry into the European Union is now on hold because the country is sliding back into basically a Russian-style autocracy. The government of Georgia may not care because they're pro-Russian. The Georgian people care. This is going to be because they had a big protest before. This is going to be very interesting to see sort of what happens next in Georgia, but very scary, very scary. And that is it for the news. So let's hang out and talk like we normally do. God, that was 55 minutes of news today. Well, we got into talking about a lot of the election stuff, so into details there. So that makes sense. Anyway, so what else we got? Strike. I'm actually not up on strikes on Chechnya. What happened in Chechnya? I did not hear that. I did see that Supreme Court just allows Virginia to purge voter rolls 6 days before the election. I think it was only 1,600, right? Was it like 1,600 maybe? But still not good, obviously. Excuse me. The garbage. I don't think I want to talk about the garbage gate. I really don't. I mean, Republicans, as they do, Republicans are some of the biggest crybabies around. The Republicans like to call Democrats snowflakes, meaning, oh, they just melt under the slightest pressure. It's Republicans. But Republicans, as I've told you before, they lie very well. They lie exceedingly well. Democrats tell the truth extremely poorly. So the Democrats cannot sell the truth. Republicans can always sell a lie. So Donald Trump has spent the last 8 years saying horrific things about Democrats, horrific thing about Democratic constituencies. He called, not just Democrats. He called our soldiers suckers and losers. He referred to Mexicans as an effing Mexicans the other day. A U.S. soldier who was murdered, who's Mexican-American, called her an effing Mexican. At his rally on Sunday, they referred to Puerto Ricans as garbage. Trump has repeatedly called Democrats the enemy of the people, which is Soviet Stalinist language. It's dictatorial language. He's used language from Nazi Germany to refer to immigrants. He has said that we know, actually, from his own generals, Trump wanted to use the U.S. military to open fire on peaceful protesters in Washington, D.C. Okay? Donald Trump, nonstop violent language about Democrats, dehumanizing Nazi-style language about Democrats. And Joe Biden gets asked about Donald Trump calling Puerto Ricans garbage, basically Puerto Rico an island of garbage. And Biden says, a lot of Trump supporters are garbage, actually. He's right. So the media, of course, because the media would like nothing better than to plunge America into fascism. The media freaks out. Trump, of course, freaks out because the Republicans are good at this. Joe Biden called American voters garbage. You're like, Donald Trump called for American voters to be shot. I mean, and you're upset that Biden called. By the way, some Trump voters are garbage. Some of them are. I mean, who votes for fascism? I mean, you tell me the word, right? Why should we aren't talking about saving our democracy here. Why are we playing games? And this is where I wish Democrats would say, really? We're talking about electing a man who's a fascist, who his own chief of staff, his own secretary of defense, his own chairman of the Joint Chiefs, top general, said is a fascist. And you're worried that I'm criticizing people who would openly vote for a fascist? I got news for you. If you're willing to vote for a fascist, you deserve criticism. Democrats should turn around and literally say, you deserve criticism. What should we call people who support fascism? Support people. What do we call people who are okay with calling our soldiers suckers and losers? What do we call people who are okay with sexually assaulting dozens of women? I mean, hit them. What do you call people who are okay with taking away the right to choose from women, right? I mean, just hit the Republicans. But the Democrats, oh, we didn't mean it. Biden doesn't speak for Kamala Harris. Oh my God. Yeah. So Democrats are freaking out. And again, Donald Trump, who just every day says something. I mean, literally, there have been countless stories about how Donald Trump's language comes directly from Nazi Germany. But Biden notes that some Trump reporters are garbage. Some Trump reporters are garbage. Some Trump supporters are garbage. And by the way, they did this to Hillary Clinton before the election in 2016. She referred to Trump supporters as the deplorables, and she was right. She was right. Look at Trump supporters. I mean, I'm sorry, but look at who a lot of these people are. We know who they are. Right? And they turned it around on Hillary Clinton and made it like, oh my God, she's so intolerant. And Democrats ought to sit there and say, yeah, I am intolerant to fascism. Why aren't you? I'm intolerant to trying to violently overthrow the government. Do you think the people who tried to violently overturn the government weren't garbage? That's what I would say. Were they garbage? Oh, okay. So the Trump supporters who tried to violently overturn the government are garbage. Okay. Are the Trump supporters who believe that our troops are suckers and losers garbage? Okay. We got that down. Just start going. How about the Trump supporters who think we should use the U.S. military to shoot American citizens peacefully protesting? Are they garbage? Okay. Right. But it's not hard to fight back on this stuff. Think it, Tattooed. You literally have to take it and throw it back in their face and go, okay, let's think this through. Right. How about somebody who openly knows they're voting for fascism? They're voting for a fascist. They know he's a fascist. And they like it because he's a fascist. Is that person garbage? No, okay. Yes on that. Okay. And you just start walking them through. Thank you, literally, Julian. But I mean, what you do is you use it as an opportunity to educate people. You say, Trump wants to talk about whether his supporters are garbage? Great. Let's talk about what they're supporting them. Right? Is it garbage to support fascism? Is it garbage to hate our troops? Is it garbage to give secrets to our enemies? Is it garbage to support our enemies over our own democracy? Is it garbage to undercut our democracy? Sky Queen has a question, a very generous question, by the way, on YouTube. Thank you. I'm very anxious about this election. I am too. And I can't help think about the worst case scenario. Me too. What should we do to take back the country from fascism if Trump wins? Thank you, Aviation Bean. I mean, I don't even know at this point. I was going to say, you finance the legal groups, you finance the ACLU, you finance the other sort of groups that are going to be suing Trump to stop all of his proposals, the civil liberties groups, environmental groups. But honestly, as Kathy Cummings just said, it's a little late at that point. We reelect Trump again, and I'm not sure we're coming back from it if we elect him again. Because part of the problem is we're changing the political culture. We are making the American political culture more fascist and more amenable to and more open to fascism. And we're also changing the Republican Party and making them more fascist. Trump has made them more fascist, and now they're seeing fascism works, right? I mean, once you start changing the political culture, it is very hard to change it back, right? Trump has expanded the window on what is allowed in politics, right? You're now allowed to be a rapist. Now you're allowed to make slurs about blacks and Latinos and Muslims and women, right? You're allowed to sexually assault women. Now you're allowed to violently overthrow the government. And people go, oh, that's okay, right? I mean, he has expanded the window on what is allowed. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. He's a felon. He's a convicted felon too. Yeah, that a convicted felon could run for president. People are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. You know, it's just horrific. So, I mean, I would like to give you a better answer. We're in trouble. I mean, there is stuff we're going to have to do, obviously, but we're in trouble if he wins. We're in serious trouble, you know? I love how the Trump supporters come on and all they can say is, you lie. Really? He's not a convicted felon 34 times over. He didn't sexually assault 24 women. He wasn't found liable in court for one of the sexual assaults. He didn't call our troops suckers and losers, according to America's top generals, who have a lot more credibility than you do. He didn't call a Mexican-American soldier a effing Mexican who was murdered. Really? He didn't try to violently overthrow the government on January 6th? Sure did. Didn't end up getting 4 police officers killed? Sure did. Didn't assault 140 police officers that day? Sure did. Didn't bring guns into the Capitol? Oh, yes. Trump supporters love to say that too. They didn't have weapons. Oh, they sure as hell did. They had guns. So, yeah. The problem is what Trump supporters don't get is they like being lied to, and they're used to being lied to. And they're very gullible, sadly, a lot of them. They don't understand that the rest of us aren't stupid. The rest of us aren't uneducated. The rest of us are not uninformed. So when you sit here and you say, that's not true, you forget that you're dealing with intelligent, educated, informed people who actually know the facts, and we know how to Google and correctly find information. We were there, right? We actually know the truth. You guys, unfortunately, sit there and kind of just let people lie to you, and you go, yay, he's lying to me. I'm so excited. Yeah, he won the election. I get it. But what you don't get is when you come to forums like mine, where we've got people from the left and the right and the middle, and we tell the truth to each other, your lies just don't work because people know the truth and people are educated. And frankly, people aren't stupid. I mean, people that come to my show are just not stupid. Those lies work on stupid people. I'm sorry, but it is. You're gullible and stupid, sadly. But people are not stupid here, fortunately, you know? Exactly. They hate us for our education, Liz. They do. Well, no, but I think it's true, though. This is, by the way, I love this story from years ago. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Alisoni. There was a wonderful story about a troll farm, internet troll farm in former Yugoslavia. I don't know which country. And they were basically being paid. No, they were, I don't even know if the Russians were behind it. They were basically just trying to make money. So they would put up fake news sites on like Facebook and get clicks and somehow get money from it. I don't know how. I don't know if they advertise. I don't know what they did, but they would put up fake news sites, and they found that when they put up fake news sites about targeting Republicans, they did really well. And they would just put all sorts of bullshit up, and Republicans would believe it and click through and get angry and stuff. And I watched this guy get interviewed. I think it was on 60 Minutes, which is one of the like top American news shows. And they interviewed the guy, and he goes, we targeted Republicans with fake sites, and they believed it, and we made a lot of money. But we're not political. He goes, we targeted Democrats too. We just wanted to target Americans and make money. But we found that when we targeted Democrats, they were too smart, and they would literally look up the information and realize it was fake. He goes, and we couldn't make any money, so we stopped targeting Democrats because they were too smart, and they only went after Republicans. I mean, I'm listening to this guy going, oh my God. But when you think about it, that's how fascism thrives, right? I mean, that's how democracy dies. Thank you, Hustler, for subscribing, or someone if they gave you the subscription. But kind of amazing. Anyway, Donald Trump, Misha says Donald Trump slurs his words as he have a drinking problem. Interesting story there. The media, being just complicit in ending our democracy, loves to say Donald Trump is a teetotaler. He forswears alcohol. He doesn't drink. And I always go, how do you know Donald Trump doesn't drink? He told us. And literally, I got, oh, Donald Trump told you he doesn't drink. And Donald Trump, who always tells the truth, clearly must be telling the truth again, because he always tells the truth. Literally, I'm like, you know he doesn't drink because he claims he doesn't drink? He also claims he won the election. I mean, like, he also, every day, he commits 10 lies, 20 lies, right? So we don't know what's up with Donald Trump's slurred speech. He has had very bad slurred speech since he was in the White House. Some of the situations, it got so bad once they called a doctor, and they admitted it later on. There was one very famous one. I think this is the one where they called the doctor. You can Google it, you'll find it. This is and this is the original news video. I saw it when it happened. Donald Trump's giving a speech, and presidents always end the speech by saying, you know, God bless you and God bless America or whatever. And Trump goes like, God bless you and God bless the United States of America. And I kid you not, he goes, the United States. And you're going, what the hell was that? It sounded like he had a mini stroke, actually. I wrote about it at the time, I think on my blog or Twitter or somewhere. And CNN like picked up my tweet and said, oh, these partisans are saying Trump had a stroke or something. It obviously was dentures. Like Big O just said, it obviously was dentures. Well, we then find out from Trump's doctor that Trump doesn't wear dentures. Does the media pursue the story? No. Donald Trump has been having, and the best part is, it's not always. He has episodes. David Packman says United States at the time democracy. Yeah. He has episodes where his speech gets incredibly slurred, and then other times it's not slurred. Literally, that's the definition of a stroke. That, like, they're small strokes. What are they called? What are they? PIAs or TIAs? TIAs, I think they're called. Temporary ischemic attack, but they're like mini strokes. Doesn't mean that's what Trump is having. But the fact that the media is like, we don't care, right? Oh, Trump's in his 70s, and occasionally his transient. Thank you, transient. Occasionally his speech is slurred. That's okay. Again, if it was your parents and their speech was slurred, you would take them to the hospital for an MRI immediately because you'd be afraid they were having a stroke. But Trump gets away with it because he's a carnival barkster. He gets away with everything. You know, it's very sad. It's very sad. But yes, he does slur his speech, Misha. It's interesting. Now, it's interesting you noticed it because, you know, you are not originally American, so I'm assuming you're not a native English speaker. So interesting that you noticed it as well. Transient ischemic attack. There we go. I knew the T I was getting wrong, but I knew it was a T. What else we got here? What else, guys? Oh, God, I'm tired. Like I said, I had another, not traumatic, just another frustrating day dealing with the idiot garbage people who lied to us about picking up the garbage in front of the house. So I'm like, oh, God, just one more thing to deal with. I know, I'm hoping Kara Harris wins. It is very tight. It is super tight race. It's a little crazy. Plans for election days, no traditions, no. I think I'm going to do a live just for subscribers, I think. A large live, I don't know. Maybe we do a big live. I don't know. I'm still deciding on it. I mean, the thing is, I've got to give subscribers a benefit for subscribing. So I'm still deciding. I'll talk to the mods about it and see what they think. But I probably will do a sub-only live, I think. We'll do something, but I think that's what I'll do. Thank you, Addie, for the gift. Show. You already voted in Texas. Russia fined Google about YouTube again. They've been doing that a lot. Yeah, they do that a lot. I'm not surprised they're doing it again. So, Joe Rogan interviewing Harris. I don't know. Did he ask her? She should go on Harris. Or she should go on Rogan. Did he? I don't remember. I thought I heard a rumor of that or something. What did happen with that? With Kamala Harris going on Rogan? I voted for Harris. Oh yeah, yeah. You know, but I think she should go on Joe Rogan. I think Rogan would probably like her. I think he'd like her. Well, if she goes on, it better be soon. He wants her to travel to his studio. Honestly, she should. She should. I think she would do a good job against him. First of all, I think he'd be a little confused debating a woman. Like, I think he'd be a little careful debating a woman. I think she's smart. She's intelligent. I think she should hold her own with him. She could get his audience to like her. She could get him to like her. She's smarter than Donald Trump. Rogan said no. What does she need to do to win? I don't know anymore, Chopper. I really don't. I mean, it's very confusing to me how Trump is even doing well. You know, he wants 3 hours and she won't travel and can only do it. I mean, 3 hours is a lot. We're in the week before the election. She doesn't have 3 hours. That's true. 90 minutes is pretty damn good. Also, being in studio is very difficult. Where's his studio? Being very difficult to be in studio. I mean, he shouldn't be a prima donna about that. He really shouldn't. I mean, 3 hours is too much. But also, he's in Iowa? Oh, he's in Austin? Oh, that's stupid. She shouldn't go to Texas. That's stupid. That's a waste. Yeah, no, he shouldn't be a prima donna about that. That's stupid. Yeah. Wear a tux on election day? That's funny. Yeah, 90 minutes is a lot of time for an interview. A lot of time. He absolutely should go. First of all, I mean, again, don't be a prima donna. You're interviewing the two presidential candidates the week before the election. They don't have time. They visit. I mean, they could visit 5 states a day. I mean, Trump isn't, because Trump is exhausted. But Kamala Harris's schedule, they could literally visit 5-6 states a day in the last week, especially. They don't have time to take 3 hours, let alone just go to Austin, where, you know, Texas is not exactly going to go her way. You know, very interesting. I think he would benefit a lot from having her on, actually. Right. And I'm sorry, good point. We always keep forgetting this. Pam Pam goes, she's the vice president of the United States, right? You don't drag her ass. You go to her and interview her. She's the vice president. It's like telling Biden, well, Biden, you better come visit me or I'm not interviewing you, you know? Anyway. Oh, boy. That's too bad. He really should do it. I think it would be a fascinating interview. You know. Oh, anyway. What else, guys? We'll do a couple more minutes and then call it quits. I'm tired. Like I said, that crazy garbage pickup people got me stressed. Had a disagreement with the interview content. Oh, that's interesting. That I don't know. That's interesting. Musk is putting his wives and kids in a compound? Oh, get out of here. Get out of what? Like those crazy cult people? What do you mean? What's he doing? You're kidding. Oh, I'd listen if she was on. I think it'd be a fascinating interview, actually. I know Mom's chair. Oh, did Mom's chair squeak? Oh, this chair, you mean? Yeah, I know. This chair. Yeah, you're not going to get this chair again after tomorrow. After Friday. Actually, Friday, I may even not do a show on Friday. We'll see. Just because Friday is my last day here. Saturday, I'm flying out, and I think Friday is going to be like, stress day beyond belief. Like my last day in this house I grew up in. So it's going to be, let's see, but I'm a little afraid I'm going to cancel Friday, probably. Because then Saturday I'm flying. We'll see, but just be aware. Bear with me. You understand. But Musk either bought or is building a huge mansion for his wives and children to live in. How bizarre. So weird. Thank you for the meerkat, Nar. I don't know enough about Missouri trending Republican. I really don't. I sort of always said I am not really I've always been actually more of a policy guy than an election guy. I mean, I follow the election stuff, but I have friends who are like election people, and they're the people who can literally look and say, oh, well, that city in Pennsylvania, you've got to understand, going back 70 years, Damien's this way, going back 70 years, that city has always been Democratic, but at one point in the 1950s, Damien knows all this. What I need to do is get Damien, I got to tell him to do this, actually. Damien needs to come over election night, because Damien's the one who can sort of give us more of that background that like the really geeky election people have that I do not have. I've got a lot of politics background and policy background. But Damien knows the scary election stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to do some show election. Like I said, I'm still deciding if it's going to be subscriber only as a thank you to subscribers or public. Also, if it's subscriber only, we don't have to deal with all the bullshit. I'm not sure I feel like having all the crazies come in, even though it's a good way to get them to see the show. I'm just not sure I want all the crazies coming in. We'll have to see. Damien, I think, has a photographic memory. I'm convinced. He likes history, but he remembers it. I mean, I told you once, Damien told me, and I'm laughing the story he's telling me. I can't even remember. I have to ask him again. Something like, because Damien does catering, like kind of manages catering. He's done politics too, but he's managing catering. And he was at some restaurant or somewhere, and there was some woman working there, and she was Scottish maybe, and she said something stupid or I don't know what. And Damien responded to her and said, well, you people back in 1690, and said something about something that happened back in the 1600s. And he goes, and I told her. And I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, he knew some obscure piece of Scottish history that he used to like embarrass her. He has this brain for facts that just, it's photographic. It's absolutely photographic. Just amazing. Your goddaughter in Ukraine just released her latest song and video. So is that her name, Nanava? That's very cool. That's very cool. Nocturnal, you think we'll get a winner announced the night of the election? Boy. If the election is close, we may not. We may not. If it's a blowout, we will. That doesn't mean Trump will concede. Here's part of the problem. We may get a result that evening, but if the election is close, they'll have recounts, which is the right and frankly responsibility to do. If the election's close, we'll have recounts. So who knows? Let's hope it's not close. Let's hope it's not close, But I don't think Trump will concede. But Trump not conceding doesn't mean we don't have a winner, right? The media could say it's clear Kamala Harris won. Trump isn't conceding. It doesn't matter. And then Trump tries to go violent, and and then we learn whether his people are garbage or not by whether they turn violent yet again. But it's Fox News won't be calling Arizona. That's for sure. Yeah. No, Trump won't concede because it's embarrassing to him if he loses again. I hope to God. I mean, it's just, this is scary stuff. It's very scary stuff. I always say, like, doing the work I do, we typically do better with bad guys in power because people come to the show when Trump is doing crazy things. It is, as you saw with Ukraine, actually, people who watch me for the Ukraine stuff, it's much harder to do a show about like the people you like because Biden isn't perfect on Ukraine and it's very disappointing and dispiriting, right? Whereas if Trump, you could just get angry and at least we'd come and we'd bitch about Trump and it's almost easier in a way. But when it's your own person who's falling short, people sometimes get depressed and just don't want to hear about it at all, I find. So with political blogs, it was the same way. When we were in the opposition, our political blogs did great. When our own guy was president, it was like people would get kind of disappointed and it wasn't as so I still hope Trump loses, but it's probably better for the show if Trump wins, but better for me and the country if he loses. So I'm okay with that. They didn't vote since Hillary saw a landslide. Wow. Yeah, that's not very smart. Yeah. I did see that, Alec. Yes, some 18-year-old Trump supporter in Florida was arrested for threatening Harris supporters with a machete. He showed up at a voting area, I believe, carrying a machete, like one of those big, scary knives from the jungle, and waving it at people, which, of course, is a federal crime, and they arrested him because you can't intimidate voters. And he was some 18-year-old kid who's going to be spending time in prison now, probably. Really screwed up. But again, he's not garbage. Okay? Not garbage. Jason Voorhees, is that the name of the guy? What's not good for liberal content creators? Having an enemy is actually, but again, I'd rather have a country than an enemy. Jason, I remember Jason Voorhees, the name, but I didn't know what it is though. Yeah. A guy in San Antonio punched an elderly poll worker when asked to remove a MAGA hat. Oh yeah, the MAGA people are doing that too. You're not allowed to wear partisan political gear to vote, and the MAGA people keep wearing it to be obnoxious to the election workers, and they've been assaulting them. Yeah, again, but they're not garbage, guys. They're assaulting election workers in a democracy, but they're not garbage. Okay, yeah, just so we get that straight, you know. That's WC Field says you won't have a show if Trump wins. I'll have a show if Trump wins. I'm not afraid of Trump. I mean, he doesn't run the democracy yet. He'll try, but I'm not afraid of him. You know, we'll all go to Canada. No, I'm not going to get to Canada unless I have to. I don't know. Canada would have me. I have friends who moved to Canada, becoming citizens now. They kind of just got fed up with everything. It's too bad, but country is having real problems. And again, it's the Republicans. They've gone fascist and they've gone a little crazy. Not a little crazy, a lot crazy. And I don't know how we come back from this. You know, man, it's very scary. So you'll let me in. Thank you, Addie. I'll go to the border. Go. I have an invite. I was invited. I was invited. Come on. I know Canada's got its own political problems. My friends who are pretty good on the left, but they're very upset with Trudeau. But I'm really not up at all on the Canadian politics at all, though. So being in Mexico on election day does sound good. Come to Australia. We seem to be wanting to be America 2.0. Yeah, I don't know. I did like going to Asia. Ironically, I liked Singapore, though Singapore's, a pretty strict kind of little bit of maybe I don't know if I want to say totally authoritarian, but you know what I mean? It's not quite a full democracy, but lovely place. And boy, the country's run well. I mean, boy, got to tell you, I was very impressed with Singapore, Trump, perfect example of a paid propagandist. Oh yeah. Trump is either being paid by Putin or blackmailed. Trump's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, even though I know you're a troll, because Trump's own director of national intelligence, Trump's top intelligence official at the White House, who was Senator Coates, who is a far right, religious right lunatic, came out and said he thinks Trump is being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin. Again, this is a religious right lunatic on the far right, who is a U.S. senator hired by Donald Trump to be his top intelligence official at the White House. And he came out and said he thinks Donald Trump is being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin. And he even secretly had them do an intelligence assessment to determine if there was anything. They couldn't find anything, but he still convinced Trump is being blackmailed by Putin because there was no excuse for why Trump was so turning his back on America's national security and doing all he could to defend Russia's national security. So yeah, glad you brought up the idea of paid propagandists, because that's exactly our concern about Donald Trump and his own staff. My Star Trek outfit I did not bring here for Halloween. I did bring Sasha's little outfit. I've got a little jockey that gets worn on her back that's very cute. So she is going to be wearing that tomorrow for our walk, so that'll be nice. But my Star Trek t-shirt is back in Washington, and I got Sasha a Spock costume as well. So one of these Halloweens, I am doing my Star Trek shirt and Sasha's Spock costume. It has a little hat that has the ears, which I think she'd be a little upset. She doesn't like wearing hats, though. I think she's going to be a little upset about wearing the hat, but, it's very cute. But, yeah, the jockey outfit's pretty cute, though. Pretty cute. Yes, I'll send a picture of Sasha dressed up. I'll have to do it all day tomorrow. So anyway. All right, guys, let's get going. It's been an hour and a half. My voice has been getting scratchier again lately. I don't want to do any more. But thanks for joining us all. I will be back tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern time, U.S., and we will talk again about the latest from Ukraine and the latest from the election. Scary. But yes, I will take pictures of Sasha tomorrow and show you guys. It's a very cute, because it looks like this jockey's like riding her back. It's very cute. We are giving out candy. I bought candy just in case. So we will see. If they come, I will give it. So hopefully, I like to see kids at Halloween. I think it's cute, but I don't know how many kids. The town's got a lot of kids. So hopefully, hopefully we got it. So All right, guys. Thank you so much. All right, let's have a good night. Mods, thanks for doing what you do. Everybody else, thanks for coming, especially to our paid subscribers, all of the SNN people on TikTok, all of you green people on YouTube, Sky Queen, Gunther, John, the rest of you. Thank you guys as well. Thank you, Tattooed Mom, for the last minute gift. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Piscino. All right, guys. Let's have a good night, okay? See ya. The live... Good question. Last with a question from James was, what time would the live be election night? I don't know, 6:37 maybe? Maybe 6:30? That's why I don't know if I want a big crowd, because I think I'm just going to have it on for 5 hours. It'll be like when we watched the Eurovision contest. It's kind of going to be on in the background. We'll talk, we'll watch TV, you know what I mean? I'll have Damien over. I want to see if Damien can come over. Hopefully I got to reach out to him now. But I'm thinking then, although the big results may not start coming in until 8 o'clock, those first results should start coming in at 7, I think. Pretty sure. I seem to remember results starting at 7, but I think the big ones start to come in at 8. Eastern time, US, of course. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll decide in the next few days, but I think that's probably what we'll do. But we'll do, and I'll broadcast to Discord, Twitter, and not Twitter, Discord, TikTok, and YouTube as always. So. Media silence on election day? No. But what the media does is they no longer do, the media used to do exit polls about who was winning on election day. They no longer do that. So now they do exit polls on election day of who turned out and what were their views, right? Like this many women turned out, this many Mexican Americans, this many whatever. Issues they were most concerned about, the economy, immigration, whatever. So, but they won't report. Thank you, Triff, for subscribing. They won't report asking. They used to ask them and say, who'd you vote for? And they would tell. They don't do that. They get the information, and then like after the polls close, they tell you that information. But they used to tell you before, and people would literally stop voting. They would literally call states. They would literally say, well, California, the election's already called. Even though people are still voting, it's clear who's going to win, and then people would go home. And people are thinking, well, that's not good. What if you're wrong and you literally told people to go home, right? Thank you, Flower Lady. So yeah, we don't have a media silence on election day, but we do have they're careful about not predicting a winner. In France, I laugh because like France has like the last 5 days of the election or something. They don't campaign, and I was like, what? And it's illegal to even campaign for your candidate 5 days before the election. And I thought, oh my God, here, forget it. All right, guys, let me hang up. I'll talk to you. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.